Hello, I'm Barrett Pedersen, Mayor of Franklin Park, and this program is something we're experimenting with to improve communication between the folks in City Hall and the folks who live in Franklin Park. You may be aware I've hosted a public access cable television series called Illinois Issues in Review for the past 21 years, so I understand the value of public access television. Some of you may be aware that I came to know about this important communications medium nearly 25 years ago through Bill Wildt, host and producer of Motorsports Unlimited. He's been encouraging me to try a new way of using cable access to talk with the people in Franklin Park. He believes it's of value to get out of the studio and talk about the stories impacting Franklin Park where they occur. Taping on location, as it's called, can be challenging, but if it helps keep everyone informed, it will be worth the effort. So I'd like to give it a try, beginning with the Franklin Park's response to the big rain event, July 23rd, 2011. It was a big one. On July 22nd, Franklin Park hosted the annual Franklin Park Show and Street Dance. It was a wonderfully successful event, and as usual, Bill Wildt was covering it for Motorsports Unlimited. A few hours after the show, however, our area was hit with a tremendous storm. The skies opened and we experienced record rainfall in a 3-hour period. I received reports that the retention ponds were filling quickly. We knew there would be a strong possibility of serious flooding, so we created an automated phone message asking the people in Franklin Park to help with anticipated sandbagging. When Bill received the call, he decided to grab his video equipment, still at the ready because he'd just finished taping the Franklin Park Car Show and Street Dance hours before, and set out to see what was going on and if he could record anything of interest. He made his way over to the intersection of West Manor and Lewis and found a number of people filling sandbags. After watching for a few minutes and getting the idea of what the people were working to accomplish, Bill decided to chat with a couple of them.
Folks, I grabbed one of the people here working so hard to try to prevent the flooding in Franklin Park. I just want to find out who they are, how they happen to be here. First of all, you are?
Cassie.
Cassie what?
Mackey.
And where do you live?
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin? How come you're all the way down here in Franklin Park to help?
Visiting my grandpa.
So you're just visiting and you heard the call and came out to help, and what are you doing?
Filling sandbags.
Filling sandbags. How long have you been doing it?
Well, we were here earlier for like 30 minutes and then just came back.
Okay, well, listen, I'm going to let you go back to work, but thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. Everybody's turning out, even from Wisconsin. Okay, I grabbed another volunteer real quickly. I'm only going to bother him for a minute. First of all, who are you?
Sandra Berniecki.
And where do you live?
In Franklin Park on Washington.
So you're a Franklin Park person?
Yes, I am.
You heard the call this morning?
Yes, I did.
And what we're talking about is apparently they put out a kind of a recorded message saying they need help sandbagging to help prevent flooding in some of the areas that flood in Franklin Park?
Yes.
And you just, goodness of your heart, came out to do it?
Yes, I did.
You look like you're beat. You've been working for a while.
A few hours we've been out here, yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you go back to work. The thing that pleases is the wrong word. Nothing pleases me about flooding. But the thing that pleases me about this is the way the community has turned out to try to help their neighbors. Apparently I found another person here from Wisconsin, but there's a little bit more to the story than that. First of all, you are?
Sherry Lewis.
And you're from Wisconsin?
From Wisconsin, originally from Franklin Park.
But apparently that's the point. You're here because you're from Franklin Park, and what happened?
I take care of my dad once a week. He's up in age. I come in, take care of him. Got a phone call at his house that they needed help here, filling sandbags, and me and my girls came on down to help.
I'll tell you something. Kind of makes you proud, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
they were the first ones to offer.
Isn't that cool that the people just turn out to help each other?
I
think that's
that's what you need to do.
That's what I'll tell you something. When something happens this quickly, this storm hits so fast. We had no sooner we finished the Franklin Park Car Show and Street Dance last night, and a couple hours later, it was like all hell broke loose.
Wow!
And over 6 inches of rain with a few hours, unbelievable. Anyhow, I'm going to let you get back. I grabbed her away from filling sandbags. She's even got the shovel. Don't think for a moment that I'm not feeling guilty as can be about I should be grabbing a shovel and sandbags, but I'm approaching 70 and quadruple heart bypass and all the rest of it. I think we need these young, strong guys out here doing this kind of work. First of all, you are.
Cody Catlow,
Where are you from, Cody?
Franklin Park.
Okay, you're wearing a youth, what is it, youth t-shirt? What is this?
Yeah, I work for the street division of Franklin Park and summer program, just working 7 to 3:30, Monday through Friday.
That's great. What kind of work are you doing?
Cutting grass, filling potholes, all the good stuff, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're doing more than that. What you don't realize, you're also learning how to show up for a place of work on time when you're supposed to be there, how to put in a day's work, and how to get a check at the end. It's kind of cool in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to have that money.
Yeah, what are you doing here today?
Sandbagging all day.
All day you're going to be sandbagging?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, I got my hand on his back here, and these are the kind of strong young backs we didn't need doing this kind of work. I'm glad we got some of these folks here to do it.
Cody wasn't the only strong young back helping. Watch.
Well, I found the person that everybody says is doing the most work here, and who are you?
Olivia.
Olivia what?
Olivia Kudiba.
Are you a Franklin Park person?
Yeah.
And what are you doing out here today?
Putting some bags on people's yard.
Okay, and how old are you?
7.
Do you like helping?
Yes.
Well, everybody says she's a big help here. I'm going to let her get back to work.
Olivia is adorable, and Bill said she had everyone smiling. By now, Bill was getting a better idea of what was going on and was told the main action was occurring behind the old Kmart on Grand Avenue, so he made his way over there to see what was being done and the extent of the flooding. That's where he found me.
Just 14 hours ago, I interviewed Barrett at the very, very successful annual Franklin Park car show and street dance, and congratulating on what a terrific event it turned out to be. And as it turns out, here we are just 14 hours later, been through an emergency, and apparently the mayor's job doesn't end on Saturday.
No, I was supposed to leave this morning with my 2 sons for out of town on a vacation, and I'm here filling sandbags.
You know what? Because the leader can't leave the sinking ship, right?
No, sir.
Yeah, okay. A couple things have happened. A few hours, maybe no more than a couple of hours after the car show ended last night, we got hit with an incredible storm that, as I understand it, dropped some 6 inches of water in, what, 2 or 3 hours?
6.9 inches was the estimate at 9 a.m. Mayor Montana and Schiller Park told me 8.2. This is the most amount of rain we've received in a 24-hour period since the 1800s.
Absolutely amazing. The weather has been so weird this year, it's hard to describe. Now, what does that have to do with Franklin Park? As I understand it, because a recording went out saying they needed help filling sandbags to all the residents. And the residents have turned out in great numbers. There's sandbag filling stations all over the place, and every one of them's got people filling sandbags. So apparently the turnout has been excellent. But
we've had about 50 or 60 volunteers show up. Just came out of the goodness of their heart to fill sandbags, and these are people that are in an area that aren't even affected by flooding.
No, because it's their neighbors.
That's exactly right, because
Sure.
that's the kind of community we're building in Franklin Park.
You're exactly right. Now, this actually has a big effect on Franklin Park because part of the message said that there are 3 retention ponds, and 2 of them are, how does it work here?
That's right. There's 3 retention basins in Franklin Park. 2 of them are just south of Irving Park Road. They're full, and the one behind us is the one, the Jack B. Williams retention basin, and it's about 95% filled. And
it looks full to me.
And it's probably going to overflow.
And the, what I call creek that runs from it, which normally has a few inches of water in it, is full to the top of the culvert with water running. It looks like it couldn't handle any more water.
It can't handle any more. It's going to overflow as soon as the retention basin overflows.
So you decided to what? To see if we could take advantage of local resources and see if we can handle this?
We not only took advantage of local resources here, but the mayor of Elmhurst donated 1,000 sandbags to us. Schiller Park has offered us another 1,000, and it's great to see the other mayors pitching in when other communities next to them need help.
It really is, and that's kind of, I guess that's what I'm getting the feeling here today. I must admit, I sort of got awakened to this, and I'm trying to get my feet wet on what's all going on. But probably the most heartening thing is watching the residents turn out and actually having fun working hand in hand together while they work with this emergency. And let's face it, no one could respond any quicker than the local residents.
It's been a great sense of camaraderie. We're very pleased to see neighbors coming out and helping neighbors even when they're not affected, because they know the next time around they're the ones that might need help.
You're exactly right. And neighbors helping neighbors, I guess probably what Franklin Park is about.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my friend Barrett Pedersen, I'm sorry under these circumstances. Last night it was so much more fun.
Let me go back and start filling some more sandbags.
He's not kidding. I dragged him away. This isn't for show. We dragged him away. Go back to work.
Okay. It was a ton of work, but we did succeed in preventing significant flooding. It sure could have been a lot worse, and I want to make special mention of the efforts of the employees of the Village of Franklin Park, but more importantly, the residents of Franklin Park who came out and helped. Let's conclude this review of the big rain of 2011 with some final thoughts taped sometime later.
I cannot believe it that we are standing in what was, the only way I can explain it was a lake. The pictures that I took of the night of the big flood, it would be hard for someone looking at that to realize that that wasn't a lake. It's not a lake.
No, it's a retention basin.
It's a retention basin. And by the way, this is the Jack B. Williams retention basin?
This is the Jack B. Williams retention basin. Jack had a real vision about flood control and put in about $40 million worth of stormwater management, which saved a whole lot of homes from being flooded. Now, the 25 or 40 people that flood every year when we have a major rainstorm don't think it was very visionary because it didn't include their homes.
Well, I mean, you can't sanitize the place, but I will tell you this. I've been in Franklin Park for almost 50 years now, and I remember well that Scott Street, south of Grand, that the lightest sprinkle of rain and the police barricade, in fact, the police barricades were kind of leaning up against the light post there all the time because the lightest rain, they put the police barricades up so people wouldn't go south on Scott Street because it was always flooded over the creek.
There was a joke that if someone spit, Silver Creek and Westbrook would flood, and during the 1987 flood, which was our third largest rain event in history, 65% of the homes in Franklin Park were underwater. And in the last two rain events, which were higher, more rain than those, only 25 to 30 residents experienced flooding. But those residents are important.
Everyone is important.
Yeah.
I mean, don't mean to give that impression that they're not. Everyone is important, and of course, Barrett, I'm sure, is concerned about everybody, but I'm just wondering if people remember how bad it used to be, because 25th had to be repaved pretty much every year because it would get waterlogged, and then it would freeze for the winter, and just broke up the road terribly. And nobody seems to talk about that anymore. That went on for decades.
Unless you're an old timer, you don't remember.
Thank you. Anyhow, the reason we're, by the way, I hope we made the point. This place down here, it's empty now. This is the way it's supposed to be. 95% and 98% of the time, this is empty. And this isn't the only one. You have two more.
That's right.
All part of the system.
All on Irving Park Road, all along the Silver Creek Drainage District.
And all three of them were nearly full.
All three of them were nearly full.
In 3 hours' time.
On July 23rd, 2011, a year to the day almost of the July 24th, 2010 rain event.
So it hits kind of annually right after the car show.
Every time I think about going on vacation, it rains and I have to stay here.
Well, the mayor's job never ends, right?
No, but we are pleased that there were so many volunteers that came out. And I know that's what you wanted to touch on next.
I really did. And I must say, a couple things really impressed me. And I wish I was quicker on the draw with the camera, but it's not exactly a brownie. It isn't easy to just grab and start shooting. But I was surprised at the number of women on bicycles.
Yes.
Did you notice?
Yes.
Yeah. Wasn't that cool?
Yes.
They came from other parts of town on bicycles to help sandbag.
There were so many people, especially young children, who were coming and helping fill sandbags.
It was very cool to see the public turn out to help their neighbors. That's what I was most struck by it, and I'm sure you were too. But the one thing he wants to make sure, and I know Barrett pretty well, Barrett is not a kind of guy that doesn't like to proceed without a plan. And you've put together kind of a plan, at least to make sure we take maximum advantage of the volunteer help available?
Yes, we send out a reverse call to everyone who has a phone number that is listed with Global Connect, and we ask people to come out and help their fellow neighbors who are flooding. If we can get, you can't sandbag ahead of time because the sandbags turn into rock after several months. So you have to keep the sand and the bag separate until you need them. And so if you could help us the next time it rains, come out and quickly fill sandbags. You don't have to spend a long time, but 2 or 3 hours or maybe 45 minutes, and then we get those fresh sandbags to residents who need them.
And you have apparently regular places where you have this. I know that behind
Yes.
the Kmart is like the main one,
Yes.
but you also had one at West Manor?
West Manor.
West Manor and Lewis.
Yep, the one behind Kmart, and then we have one on Belmont. It has been east of the creek. We're moving it west of the creek because that's where most of the residents are. Didn't make sense to have them trying to cross a flooded river to get the sandbags.
No, and I would presume, at least I'm getting the feel of this, that all of this information is available from the Village Hall.
Oh yes, and it goes out in the reverse calls that we make every time it floods.
So if a person sees that we're involved in a heavy rainstorm and they want to help, they can call the Village Hall and see if the sand piles are going to be there and all that?
Yes, and if you need sandbags, you can call the Village Hall, and we can get them to you because we have certain number of homes. If we can get them, some of them need quite a number of them, and we get them out to those homes. And if you can let us know which homes they are, we can deliver the sandbags to you.
Okay, before we go any farther, I want to take just a moment here because I always think it's important. I know how Barrett feels about this too. We've talked about this off camera many times, that the fact of the matter is the government works for the people. The people don't work for the government, right?
That's right. It's your government. It's your village, your voice.
Absolutely. Like I say, it's my kind of guy. And one of the things I always like to put faces with voices. And I'd like you to know kind of where the City Hall is. I keep calling it City Hall because I was brought up with Superman, black and white Superman episodes, and Metropolis, and they had City Hall. But I guess it's the Franklin Park Municipal Building, right?
Yeah, Bill, if you want to call it City Hall, you can. We call it Village Hall, but City Hall, Village Hall are all the same.
All the same. But the sign on the building, as I came to find out, is the Franklin Park Municipal Building.
Oh, is that right? Okay, fine.
He's the mayor.
We call it Village Hall.
Anyhow, what I want you to do, I'm going to take you on a quick motorcycle ride right now. Barrett doesn't know what we're going to do here. I'm going to take you on a quick motorcycle ride, and I want you to meet a couple of people that you are likely to talk to on the phone if you call in to kind of get information about this.
Boy, that basin sure is huge. Hard to believe it can fill up. It fill up that quickly. It did. We're just going to take a quick run over to what I call City Hall. I think it's, we'll see when we get there. I think it's the Franklin Park Municipal Building. I always call it City Hall, right across from the police station. Doing this really for a couple reasons. Number one, and I hope I'm not putting words in Barrett's mouth, but I've known Barrett for a good many years, and we've talked about things like this, and I know one of the things that's real important to him, particularly now that he's in a position to actually do something about it, is he wants the people of Franklin Park to be familiar with their government, to not feel intimidated by City Hall and all that sort of thing. And one of the ways of doing that, wait a minute here. Sorry about that, folks. I don't want to crash while I'm trying to do this. One of the ways that you can do that to kind of reduce anxiety levels and everything is to, first of all, show people where the Village Hall is, and secondly, introduce them to some of the folks they might have contact with, kind of lessen the whole, it's like it's some kind of a foreign experience. It really isn't. I know how Barrett feels about these things, and more than anyone, he recognizes that the government works for the people don't work for the government. And he sure wants the people to know that his office is always open, and if somebody has a problem, they really ought to come over to City Hall and talk to him, because that's why he's there. So what I'm doing with this is I want to show you where City Hall is, and hopefully meet the folks that you would probably be talking to if you called over there in order to participate in sandbagging and the like, or for anything else that might happen to go on. Just a matter of making people more familiar with it.
By the way, we're on Scott Street, and the section we just left is the piece of Scott south of Grand Avenue that used to flood constantly. I misspoke when I said 25th earlier. It was Scott that had to be frequently repaved because of the flooding. It doesn't seem to happen since they built the retention pond. Now, through the magic of television, let's pick up the pace and get to City Hall. For those not familiar with Franklin Park, I suppose I should explain the route we're taking. We started at the retention basin and proceeded east on West Manor to Scott Street, where we turned left. Then it was Scott to Belmont Avenue, where we turned right. We jogged over to proceed east on Franklin Avenue, which will take until we get to 25th Avenue, where we'll turn left. We'll go over the tracks, then get back on Belmont Avenue to get to the Village Hall located at 9500 Belmont Avenue. Altogether, the ride is just under 2 miles.
And now on the right side, if you look over there, there's the Franklin Park Police Station. And just a little over half a block over here on the left. Let's see if I'm right. It's the Village Hall. I'm pretty sure it's Franklin Park Municipal Building. The official name is the Franklin Park Municipal Building. But anyway, where I'm taking you is a place where if you we're going to go to call the Village Hall, for example, in the event that there was another heavy rainstorm and you wanted to volunteer your efforts, your time and efforts to help with sandbagging or whatever, this is the place where you would call when you call Franklin Park Village Hall, or how would I say it, Franklin Park Village. This is where your phone call goes, and inside are the people that take the calls, and I'd like you to meet them.
We are now inside the Franklin Park Municipal Building, or as I like to say, City Hall, and I want you to meet the people that when you call here, like for sandbagging, I want you to meet the people that you're probably going to talk to, and you are.
Pamela.
And?
Barbara.
And?
Cynthia.
Is it correct then to say that all the coordination for the sandbagging, and what I'm talking about is where the sand is piled and where the intersections that people can go to, that all goes cleared through you guys?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So if people don't have to wait for the robocall, they can go ahead and call the village, and you guys will know ahead of time.
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, I want to thank you guys so much for taking a little time out of your day. And again, of course, I like to work with pretty girls, but I like to put faces with the voices. I always think it's a good idea to kind of personally put a face with the voices that you hear. I think it makes it a whole lot more friendly. And a couple of things occurred to me while I was putting this piece together. Have you guys ever considered doing something like, and maybe you do this already, I just don't know about it. Have you ever considered doing like an open house or anything?
We do open houses at a number of different places. Next Saturday, once a year, the fire station does an open house. And
what about the Village Hall?
That's a good idea, Bill.
Yeah, I thought about it when I was standing around there. I says, the people ought to know these folks. These are the people that when they call the village, who they're going to talk to and all that. I just thought it was a great idea. I have another idea. Gee, you see why I like being friends with the mayor?
Bill is an ideas guy. That's why we like him in Franklin Park.
Well, we have a number of snowmobilers in Franklin Park.
Yes.
And in all likelihood, sometime during the winter, we will have a heavy snowstorm where at least for a time the village is going to be impassable. I'm wondering if maybe the Village Hall would want to keep a collection of names of snowmobilers that have snowmobiles in the area here that could volunteer. Maybe there's an emergency, somebody needs to go to a hospital or something. What do you think? You think that's worth pursuing a little bit?
I think that's something we should explore with the police chief.
Sure. Yeah. Seeing that so many of the people in Franklin Park are willing to help their neighbors seems obvious to me.
Yes, it's very obvious.
Okay, is there anything else we want to add? And by the way, once again, we are standing. This is the part, when I showed you the pictures earlier of what looked like a lake, it's not a lake. This is what it is. It's a basin.
But it holds millions of gallons of water, and it has saved thousands of residents of Franklin Park from having water in their basement. We still need to make some modifications to make sure that the 25 or 30 residents that are still getting water during these high rain events. But I also want to thank those volunteers that came out last summer and did such a phenomenal job filling sandbags.
Yeah, it makes your heart feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
It really does. Anyway, here we are. This is the conclusion of the piece about what I call the Great Franklin Park Flood of 2011.
Hopefully, we'll never have a need to put out a call for the public's help again, but it sure is nice to know in an emergency, folks are willing to roll up their sleeves and help their neighbors. We have a plan in place to efficiently make use of the help. Most important, I want to thank you, the people in Franklin Park, for being the folks you are. I couldn't be more proud to be serving as your mayor. Now let's switch subjects. On August 15, 2011, a few weeks after the big storm, Franklin Park was honored to welcome Congressman Mike Quigley, who made an appearance at the Jewel Food Store on Grand Avenue. He wanted to meet and greet as many of his constituents as possible. Mike Quigley was cordial and clearly interested in the views of those he serves. He was kind enough to grant me a few minutes to ask some questions on behalf of the people of Franklin Park. Well, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased that Mike Quigley, Congressman for the 5th Congressional District, has joined us here in Franklin Park at the Jewel. You have quite a history in the Chicagoland area as being a fighter for reformer, and now you're in Washington, D.C. fighting for average working men and women and senior citizens, because there's a lot of challenges there, aren't there?
There sure are. It's a difficult time, but we're out here at Jewel talking to folks one-on-one, finding out how they're doing and what we can do to help them.
And the response that you're getting from people is keep up the hard work. We know that it's challenging making sure that those cuts to Medicare and Social Security aren't made.
Most of the bills that went after Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid were beaten back. We've succeeded so far, but we're getting the message loud and clear. Protect our Social Security, protect our Medicare. We will.
We've been getting questions in the village of Franklin Park about Meals on Wheel cuts. Do you know of anything happening there?
Well, unfortunately, some of the cuts that have come from the Republican side have just taken a lot of the meat out of those programs. It's very difficult to watch. There are a lot of other ways to save that money, use it more efficiently so that people can eat. We remind folks in D.C. they can be very isolated there. They haven't been without a meal for a long time, so they don't know what it's like to be hungry.
Right.
They need to come out in the district and talk to people.
Mike Quigley has always been very responsive as a congressman. If you have questions or comments, don't hesitate to contact his staff. They've always been very helpful, and there are a number of issues that people in Franklin Park have contacted you about. What are some of the things that the residents can do to make sure that some of the issues that are important to them are heard?
Well, when they contact our office, we hear about everything from visa issues, immigration issues, Social Security, Medicare. We help veterans, post-traumatic syndrome. We help them get their medals. We help a lot of legislative issues that folks can contact us about. Service issues of all type. We also let folks know what's happening in Washington, D.C. We encourage class trips and let people know that if their kids are coming to Washington, D.C., we will welcome them and try to get them in the White House.
Great. There are a number of different things going on with regard to infrastructure. Are we going to see a transportation bill anytime soon to fix some of our roads and bridges?
It is our big push to get a transportation bill passed out of the 112th Congress. The stimulus bill passed several years ago. Only 3% of that bill dealt with infrastructure. We need to rebuild our bridges, our viaducts, our roads, and our mass transit systems. It creates jobs, it helps people get to their work, it reduces pollution, it reduces our dependence on foreign oil, all those things, and it creates jobs for a long period of time. So it's actually bringing revenue back to our country and our government.
We know that you've been working on the Elgin O'Hare Western Bypass, which is a $2.2 to $3.6 billion project supposed to create 35,000 construction jobs, but more importantly, 65,000 permanent new jobs. So thank you for your support on that.
Well, the public should thank you. You and a couple of other mayors have been very aggressive in moving that project forward. I look forward to being there with you when they turn the first shovel of dirt.
Good. Well, there's a number of different things going on. Your district is moving out west. You're going to be representing some areas that you haven't represented before. What are some of those areas, Congressman?
We're getting the eastern third of DuPage County and some of Westchester, but that includes cities like Itasca, Elmhurst, LaGrange, Hinsdale. And we look forward to serving all those communities.
Oh, good. And your area goes out into the area that is now going to be the Elgin O'Hare Western Bypass?
We're also getting a little part of Rosemont, Bensonville, Des Plaines, the airport itself, so we can help facilitate the development that creates jobs for the entire region.
Good. Well, Congressman Quigley, thank you, as always,
for
coming to Franklin Park. We're proud to have you as our congressman and proud that you came out and spent the time with us during this economically challenging time. And thanks for the work you're doing in Washington, D.C. on behalf of our constituents.
Thanks for your service. We'll be back anytime you have us.
Good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I asked the question that was important to you. If not, let me know. I'll be talking with Congressman Quigley on a number of occasions in the near future, and I'd be happy to ask him about the things that concern you. Now, as many of you know, Franklin Park has a wonderful center located in beautiful North Park at the intersection of Scott and Addison. Some senior services are offered by the Community Nutrition Network, and Senior Services Association has become a regular gathering place for seniors. It's a place Congressman Quigley wanted to visit, so Bill took his video gear over there and quickly learned it was bingo day. Congressman Quigley wanted to make it a point to drop by and see how the program was working and meet some of our seniors and find out what was on their minds. So, after finishing up at Jewel, we traveled over to North Park to chat with the folks. One thing is for sure, Congressman Quigley went out of his way to take the public's pulse in Franklin Park. He has a tough job in front of him and more than ever needs public support. We appreciate his interest in the people in Franklin Park, and I look forward to working with him in the future. Now, speaking of the future, we certainly had some good news for Franklin Park, and I'd like to share it with you. The largest employer in Franklin Park is Hill Mechanical, and they recently announced a significant expansion of Franklin Park. I had an opportunity to visit their facility located at the intersection of Belmont and Wolf Road. I couldn't have been more impressed with the Hill Mechanical operation. The facility is state-of-the-art, as is their plan and product for the future. Of course, at this day and time in history, my interest was jobs, and what I saw were highly skilled people doing quality work and receiving excellent wages and benefits. Hill Mechanical's expansion will provide an excellent opportunity for Franklin Park residents to compete for good jobs located in our community. Trust me when I tell you, in this day and age, it takes a lot of governmental cooperation and hard work to keep these fine companies. We are fortunate to have Toni Preckwinkle as the Cook County Board President, and her efforts must be recognized as essential in Franklin Park's ability to benefit from Hill Mechanical's expansion. On August 23, 2011, President Preckwinkle was also provided with a tour, and when finished, we participated in a press conference announcing the good news.
I am pleased to be here today with our partner, Cook County Board President Toni Preckwinkle, and I thank her for the good work she's doing to improve Cook County on behalf of our taxpayers, and her efforts to improve the business climate to assist our businesses to grow and prosper here. In these uncertain economic times, creating and retaining jobs for our citizens must be our highest priority. Franklin Park wants the business community to know that it is open for business and that we are working closely with our partners at the county and at the state to encourage business investment and expansion so that we can bring high quality, sustainable jobs to our village and our region. One of our great success stories in Franklin Park is Hill Mechanical. Hill Mechanical, a service group of the Hill Group, is a contracting mechanical engineering organization with highly developed pre-construction planning, prefabrication abilities, pre-construction planning, and is one of the largest mechanical construction, design, service, and operation companies. I'm pleased to say that this family-owned business of 75 years is located in Franklin Park and is currently our village's largest employer. I'm very pleased that Hill made the decision to expand its operations in Franklin Park. The expansion includes the purchase of 19.4 acres with 3 buildings. The renovation of these buildings was estimated at $7.8 million when the project was presented to the village. A 6B property tax incentive made possible by Cook County, granted by our Economic Development Commission in Franklin Park, helped them make the property purchase and rehab possible. Today they employ over 1,000 employees and have revenues in excess of $289 million. The fact that they chose to grow and prosper in Franklin Park is a story that we proudly tell to all prospective new businesses, including recently Standard & Poor's to get an investment bond rating. And that's our goal, getting Franklin Park businesses to stay here, create jobs, grow, and prosper. I look forward to working with our partners at the county and the state and to continue in this effort. And I want to thank Toni Preckwinkle very much for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barrett.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nobody responds. See, so I'm a teacher. So if I say good afternoon to you, I expect you to say good afternoon back. Let's try it again. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Much better, much better. I'm very grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to Mayor Pedersen for his good work. I have 2 of my staff people here, Maria Saldana, who's head of our Bureau of Economic Development, and Herman Brewer, who's her right-hand person. And I want to thank Bob Creel. This is, of course, Hill Mechanical's establishment, and we're grateful to have an opportunity to be here today. And I got a quick course in how this firm operates and the way in which you do your construction, prefabricated construction. Is that fair?
Building information modeling and virtual building.
Building information modeling and virtual building. He's corrected me. Okay. BIM, there we go. I'm pleased to announce that through our administration's efforts, businesses have created 1,600 new jobs in Cook County. In this year alone, we vigorously ramped up our engagement with the business community, working directly with business leaders like Bob Creel and local municipalities like Franklin Park, and organizations to significantly increase the county's role in economic development. I made this a priority when I began campaigning in December of 2008, and I pledged to continue these efforts going forward. For too long, the county has been missing in action when it comes to economic development efforts in the region. Given the terrible economy that we all face, we have to do everything in our power to help create an economic environment to foster business growth and job creation here in Cook County. We've done this in a number of ways. We've worked to identify potential sites for business development and expansion. And as evident here today, we have created tax incentive programs which help to stabilize and strengthen businesses by giving them an opportunity to create and keep good jobs in our area and expand their businesses even further. Bob Creel, the CEO of the Hill Group, and his company are a testament to the efforts we've undertaken at the county level. By utilizing our tax incentives, the Hill Group has created 30 new full-time jobs, 25 new construction jobs, and retained 850 full-time jobs. These are families that contribute to our local economy, who send their children to our schools, and who strengthen our communities. It's because of these folks that I made a commitment to reinvigorate the county's efforts in economic development, and I will continue to do so. It's not just through tax incentives that we can assist businesses in this difficult time. That's why I made a promise to businesses and consumers to roll back the Stroger sales tax increase. The sales tax increase was a burden on working families and a burden on our business communities, particularly businesses that employ hundreds of thousands on the periphery of the county and who have to compete with Kane or Lake or Will or DuPage or Indiana, counties and states that have lower sales taxes. In addition, we have to do a much better job of allocating our federal dollars through programs such as our Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG. This funding seeks to strengthen our communities by improving infrastructure throughout Cook County neighborhoods. The county has awarded $9.4 million in CDBG funds for fiscal year 2011 to 101 recommended projects throughout the county. More than 50% of the money has gone to target capital improvements in the suburbs, including 57 blocks of street, alley, and sidewalk improvements, approximately 8 blocks of water and sewer infrastructure repair, and the phased development of 2 community centers. While we have tried to help strengthen the economy, there's still much to do. We need to remain competitive if we're going to grow our way out of this difficult economic climate. We will work with businesses such as the Hill Group to keep our employees and residents here in Cook County. I want to thank Barrett Pedersen for his warm welcome to Franklin Park, and I want to thank Bob Creel for his commitment to doing business in Cook County. Bob? Thank you very much.
And the Hill Group are all these people that you see around us here, along with all of the people that are out in probably 35 million square feet, 60-some buildings, probably 100-some different construction projects, and I don't know how many different private and public businesses that we service every day. I'd like to thank Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle, along with our mayor,
Thank you very
Mayor
much, Dave.
Pedersen, because without the 6B, we probably wouldn't be here in Franklin Park. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Yes. Let me ask Maria Saldana, who's head of our Bureau of Economic Development, to respond to the question.
Actually, that 1,600 number was in total, including some of the jobs that be created because of the CDBG investments that we make.
So the number 1,600 reflects both our tax incentive programs and the Community Development Block Grant Program. Erica, do you have any questions? Bob, do you want to speak to that?
Well, we never would have made the millions of dollars in investment in these buildings that were unoccupied at the time we were looking for a place to move to. Quite simply, we probably wouldn't be in Cook County. Yes. Yes. I don't know, Warren, how many total do you think? Total sites we looked at before we decided on this, I mean, it was dozens. Yeah. And I can tell you that when we came to Franklin Park, they were very receptive and worked very hard with us. I would encourage any of the other businesses out there to look up the mayor and John Eder, who works with him. They are very helpful. This will be our 7th year. And we originally bought the 7 1/3 acres in this building, and then last year made another investment to buy the 19+ acres and the 3 other buildings adjacent to this. This is our 75th year, since 1936. We've been in Franklin Park for this is our start of our 7th year. We were in the city of Chicago for 69 years. The ones they mentioned are, but I think this is a continuous process. If you really look at what we're doing here, we're applying technology to a design, construction, and building operations system that, quite honestly, is archaic. What these women and men are doing here is they're bringing the construction project into a manufacturing setting. They're virtually building the project before they build it in the field. And because of that, we're able to do much higher quality. It's much safer. Our EMR is down to 0.54 for the 2nd year in a row. It's been a continual decline since we started building information modeling in 2003. If you were to go over to the Hill Collaboration Center, there's multiple other people collaborating with us on these projects to build them virtually first. And we're hoping to eventually move to modular construction. Job-wise, it'll be dependent on the economy, quite honestly. Oh, yeah, and represented around us, we've got the Sheet Metal Workers Union, we've got the Operating Engineers Union, we've got the Pipe Fitters Union, we've got the Plumbing Union, we've got the Sprinkler Fitting Union. Have I missed any? Laborers Union. All, by the way, I will tell you, have embraced the idea of applying technology. They are very, very bright people. Once we gave them some of the ideas, quite honestly, they've come up with the rest of them. And it's allowed us to stay competitive and continue on in business.
Well, I think it's very important in these difficult economic times for the government to use every possible incentive to aid the business community. And we have tax incentives that have benefited this particular company, but we need to look at other ways in which we can assist businesses, not just manufacturers, but all the parts of our business community. But let me just say, Bob, I think, his company is kind of at the forefront of the changes that are going on in construction. So we used to stick build everything on the site. And what's happened over time is more and more of the components of a building are put together elsewhere and brought to the site and assembled. And that has a number of advantages. For one thing, you can do the assembly in a big warehouse like this, warehouse type space, no matter what the weather. And it's much safer working conditions here than it is on the site. Much, much safer. That EMR stuff he was talking about, that's a safety indicator. Who gets hurt on the job? And what he's saying is that it's much lower in a building like this than it would be on a work site, and they've managed over time to bring it down very, very low. Okay? So construction is changing. We're doing more what we'd call modular construction, putting together the components in places like this, and then shipping them out by by truck or by rail to the site. And it enables us to control quality in a way that's much harder on site and to reduce the amount of accidents. So it's both safer and higher quality. Am I fair there, Bob?
And less cost.
And lower cost. Not incidentally lower cost, okay? Well, I spoke to two things. One, our tax incentive programs, and the other is the reduction of the sales tax. Because particularly for many of our retail businesses, that was a real problem. The differential between Cook County sales taxes, which were over 10%, and the sales taxes in Kane, Wildt, DuPage, or Indiana made it very hard for our retailers, particularly on the periphery of the county, to compete. But let me ask Maria Saldana to talk about some of the other things we're doing. She's head of our Bureau of Economic Development.
Actually, one of the exciting things about this company is that even though the Midwest is known for having lost some of its traditional manufacturing jobs, these types of manufacturing jobs in the advanced manufacturing area is what's going to lead the way and what is going to keep this region competitive. One of the biggest efforts we're engaged in is collaboration. We need to collaborate more with the municipalities surrounding Chicago to talk about what levers we can use to make sure that we remain competitive, not only nationally, but globally.
All right, I want to apologize. If I'm not back in the city at 2 o'clock, my name will be mud. So I have a bunch of people waiting for me who, from the foundation community who we hope will work with us to try to make our county more efficient and to support our reform efforts. So I've got to go. I'm very grateful to all of you. I'm particularly grateful for the warm welcome we received from Mayor Pedersen and, of course, Bob, for the good work of this company. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am so pleased Hill Mechanical has chosen to expand in Franklin Park. I'm confident it will be good for them and good for Franklin Park. Now, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope you have found our efforts to use public access cable television to help keep you informed of value. I'm sure Bill and I will find additional opportunities to work together to keep you informed. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm Barrett Pedersen, and this is Franklin Park.